in Portland, and Stephanie here on Doha. Oh, there's David. David on the East Coast. Hey, hi.
Hi, Robert.
Well, it melts my heart to see you here. It's amazing what an elixir it is to gather together. I'm Robert Beatty. I'm the guiding teacher at the Portland Insight Meditation Community. And this is our Sunday morning gathering. We've been doing this 10 o'clock gathering on Sundays on the net for at least 8 years, I think. We've been gathering at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings for about 15. And before that, it was 30 years of Sunday evenings. So we have a pretty strong track record of meeting and practice like this. So any of you that have arrived now, we had an unfortunate incident last Wednesday night in which Gregory Malouf's group on Zoom was Zoom bombed, and it was obnoxious. They mocked a couple of people, and there were some just verbal abuse stuff. And then one fellow pulled down his pants, which was really skillful. So this was upsetting to some of the people in the group. And we've been researching and talking about what to do. And all of the things that we could do, no, that's not true. The things that could really secure the meeting will also make it unavailable to many people, like a password. So what I've decided to do is I should say this too. After 10 minutes, I'm going to lock the meeting, which means no one can join after 10 minutes. So that way, that provides a little security in that. But even more significantly, should that happen, and it's much less likely to happen in the morning, I think, than the evenings, but should that happen, Jim and I are prepared to just pull the plug and close the broadcast and come back in 5 minutes. That will not affect the broadcast on Ustream or Facebook, where there is no way to interrupt like that. Is that making sense? Good. And I'm hoping it doesn't create anxiety for people. I know some of us have trauma that can easily get triggered by something like that, and I hope that's not the case, and I hope we can nip it in the bud if it does start again. A poem for a Sunday morning. This is Donald Babcock. The Little Duck. Now we are ready to look at something special. It is a duck riding the ocean 100 feet beyond the surf. And he cuddles in the swells. There is a great heaving in the Atlantic, and he is a part of it. He can rest while the ocean heaves because he rests in the Atlantic. He probably doesn't know how large the Atlantic is, and neither do you. But he realizes it. And what does he do, I ask you? He sits down in it. He reposes in the immediate as if it is infinity, which it is. That is religion, and the duck has it. Now we are ready to look at something special. It is a duck riding in the ocean 100 feet beyond the surf. And he cuddles in the swells. There is a great heaving in the Atlantic, and he is a part of it. He can rest while the ocean heaves because he rests in the Atlantic. He probably doesn't know how large the Atlantic is, and neither do you. But he realizes it. And what does he do, I ask you? He sits down in it. He reposes in the immediate as if it is infinity, which it is. That is religion, and the duck has it. He reposes in the immediate as if it is infinity, which it is. Russell, how loud is the guitar sound? Okay, volume-wise? Not too loud? I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Resting in the Atlantic, resting in the Dharma, trusting and then cultivating being awake, the Buddha. And we do it in the company of our friends. What a blessing to have one Dharma friend, and even greater to have a community of Dharma friends. So what if we were to settle down here into this moment, into our version of the Atlantic? Our lives are unstable, unpredictable. We can struggle and fight to make them predictable and stable, but we never win that way. We never succeed. Because the forces we deal with are really oceanic. They're as big as avalanches, and I know that ocean waves can be big. When in my early 20s, I worked on a freighter from Australia to around the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, and then up the Atlantic coast. And crossing the South Indian Ocean, the roaring 40s, the waves were 60 feet high. A 600-foot ship would go down one side of a wave and plow into the next and then come shivering and shaking up out the other side. But that ship was solid. It knew what to do. It would bend and twist. And it always bobbed right up to the top, even after the bow would go 30 or 40 feet underwater. And that's us. Life sends these incredible challenges along. And we have the extraordinary toolkit of the Buddha's teachings. And we develop our strength in these by practice. Right now, life is exactly as it is. Your life, my life. Dare we wake up to it? We can come home to the present moment and land in the body. Notice how alive it is, this, your body. All the way from the toes to the crown of the head. There's life. And if there's life, there's the knowing of life. The knowing of sensations. And in the midst of all this life, there's in-breathing and out-breathing. A duck rests in the Atlantic. Why not rest in this moment? In the coming and going of the breath, the waves of the breath. There is in this a letting go. A letting go of the past and future. A letting go of worry and planning and control. Each breath has a moment when it begins. why not rest in it? Each breath has a journey to fullness, and then a decline, and then a vanishing. Resting in this. It may be that the mind is very quiet right now, and that it abides easily in breathing in and breathing out. That co-arises with tranquility and ease and perhaps joy or bliss, rapture. It's such a wonderful vacation from the thinking mind. Don't hesitate to enjoy the pleasure of it. On the other hand, the mind may be restless or agitated, or it could be filled with desire, wanting something, or aversion, disliking something. Or it could be sleepy and dull, resistant. Or it could be colored with doubt. Or there could be emotions rumbling around. Happiness, sadness, fear, loneliness, anxiety, depression. All the colors of the human emotional palette. These, quote, disturbances, close quotes, don't need to be disturbances. They're just the weather. To rest in the immediacy of the moment is to be open to them too. Even so far as to put aside the breath and abide with anxiety or fear or excitement. There is no experience in human life which is not worthy of our complete and utter attention. And when you can, coming home to breathing in and breathing out.
Resting effortlessly in the present moment. If you find yourself working hard in meditation, trying hard, take that very trying hard as an object of observation. In that trying hard, there is an I. I want something different. I'm going to get somewhere. I'm going to get rid of something. Just resting in this moment exactly as it is. If the mind is quite discursive,
You might find breath counting helpful. Breathing in 1, breathing out 2, up to 10. Starting over. Whenever you lose track, starting over. Or little mental notes in the mind. Rising, rising, falling, falling. When awareness awakens to the wandering mind, wandering, wandering. Returning, returning. When there's hearing, hearing, hearing. What a relief to rest in the present moment, to put down all responsibilities, all the compulsions to be a certain way or do a certain thing, look a certain way. All the effort and expense we put into vacations, when all along the ease which we hunger for is right here. And sometimes as we sit still longer, discomforts will arise in the body. There may have been some right at the start anyway. And we make a very interesting choice with these discomforts. That unless we are in fact injuring the body, we make the choice to sit with them, to allow that ache in the shoulder or that itch or that discomfort in a leg, to allow it to persist. And with that discomfort or pain, developing our capacity to bear with that which is unbearable. As living beings, as mammals, we do have to move away from pain and toward pleasure, of course, to survive. But the constant fidgeting, constant browsing, constant avoidance of discomfort leaves us playing in the shallows. So sometimes a really painful mood will come along, or a pain in the body. We stay with the breath until the secondary object becomes intense. Then we notice that, look carefully, come back to the breath. And then ultimately we may turn our entire heartfelt attention to that which is discomforting. And we notice its nature. We notice the disliking of it. We become very curious. How is it to live with a pain here? In doing this, we learn the truth of the four ennobling truths. There really is pain in human life, and plenty of it. And there's suffering which is caused by the non-acceptance of that pain. And there is relief. There is something we can do other than feed the addiction or change the activity. We can stay right here and float in the middle of it, grounded in breathing in and breathing out. Just here, just now. The present moment is exactly like it is right now. It's like this. Peace lies in not making any effort to change it. Just resting in the greatness of your being, which includes it all. It's also helpful, of course, at the level, the tuning of being a separate being. If we have a loving acceptance, a compassionate, loving acceptance of that which we are. I invite you now to become aware of the whole body. And maybe let a little smile come at the corner of your lips. Maybe imperceptible from the outside, but a little smile. And say something kind to your body. Maybe some gratitude. Thank you for working so well for so long and for repairing yourself. Not always, but often. And maybe bring to mind the psychological and emotional struggles that are prevalent in these days. There may be something that's really challenging you right now. And now, considering the possibility that this challenge or these challenges are exactly what you need for your awakening. The sadness, the loneliness, the fear, the anger, the jealousy, financial concerns, fear of illness. Using these challenges as the lever that opens up freedom for you. Giving up the notion that it's a mistake that things are difficult, or that it's your parents' fault that you're screwed up in the ways that you are. The past is over, and there's right now. And in this right now, there's this mysterious capacity of awakeness right here. And even though we're not in the same room with each other, we are in Sangha, we are in community. So let's extend a kind thought to each other. A nice way to do this, I find, is to ever so mindfully allow your eyes to open, and in gallery view on the computer, there's a patchwork of beautiful, amazing human beings. So pick one of those. Wish this person well. Pick someone you know and then try that, or pick someone you don't know and try that. Particularly about the persons we don't know. We don't know anything about the particulars of their life, but it's obvious that they long to be loved. They came out of their childhood with plenty of injury. Everybody does. They have struggles in their lives, sickness. They have to associate with people that they don't want to associate with, and there are some people or persons that they would really like to associate with that aren't here. Or maybe they died. So we can make it quite personal to this person. And of course, in wishing them well, we wish ourselves well. Such a pleasant practice. Oh, I just realized I didn't do my complete setup, and my computer is threatening to quit. Hang on. There it is. The power supply. I will tell you a little loving kindness meditation story. I woke up one morning, it's 10 years ago, maybe more. I was leaving that day on a plane to go visit my daughter Tara, where she was going to college in Los Angeles. And I was tired and grumpy. I got to the plane. In the airport, I saw a Time magazine, and I thought, oh, good, I'll read that. I don't usually do that, but I'll have that for on the plane. And I got on the plane, and I was really tired and grumpy, and I woke up a little while later in quite an amazing state, in that everyone around me looked just so beautiful. And my heart was just wide open. And it was such a delight. And then I got off the plane in Fresno, changing planes, and everyone in the airport was exquisitely beautiful. I mean, I could see their suffering all over them, and I was careful. I first off, I thought, I'm going to go sit down and read my Time magazine, and then I thought, why would I waste this state on reading the news? So I decided instead that I would wander about the airport and be discreet. You have to be discreet in this kind of state, or you get arrested. But I walked around the airport, and every person my eyes fell on, there was this huge openness of heart. And then I continued on my way and got to Los Angeles, and it persisted some there. It was actually kind of an odd time in that I had a black eye, which I had received in a street fight. A bicyclist attacked me for cutting him off, and we had an interesting go-around. I arrived at my daughter's apartment with all of her friends looking forward to Robert Beatty, the meditation teacher, and I had a black eye from a fight. It was great. But anyway, on the way home, I was ready when I landed in Fresno for the same experience, and of course it wasn't there, right? It was a state, a beautiful state. And even as I speak of it, my heart kind of lightens up. So we're learning in our practice to actually work with our states and to accept what's there, and also to cultivate more and more loving and compassion and playfulness and more acceptance. So, Jim, you're good to do some movement? Not quite yet, but you're good for that? Okay, I have a couple of announcements to share. See if I can do it here. Here we have this. There are a variety of other things that happen. Look at this list. This is amazing. At PIMC on Sunday morning, Every morning at 7 o'clock I am on, and then there's Jim on Monday night, and the peer-led group on Tuesday mornings, and then Boundless Heart with Gary on Tuesday night. Wednesday night Wake Up, I love the names, with Gregory, and then Thursday night Heart of Freedom. And Doyle has been doing this for over a year now. Friday lunchtime Dharma talk with Doyle Banks. And there's a couple of other things. Jim, I realized I didn't announce your Qigong yesterday. I think that's all for that. I have a few more announcements that I won't do today, though I will do this one, which is a reminder. Our lovely Dharma Center sits waiting for us. We're taking good care of it. And who knows how soon we'll be back. I would not be surprised if we're into the new year or maybe in summer next year. We just don't know. And we did figure out that we could meet in the main hall and we could have 12 people attend, or maybe 14, if we were really careful. So that's not very viable. So we don't know. However, the center goes on, and it's up to us to keep it going. And it's doing an amazing thing, even in our absence from it. So I invite you to go to the links there and to find a way to make a contribution, and to join the monthly contributing group, the Stewardship Circle, and to really support our center so we can flourish and continue this amazing work of transforming lives. I know I'm in such a privileged position. I get to hear people, emails and in person, used to be. So many people walk in that door at PIMC psychologically bleeding or physically ill, and before long find that there's relief from their pain and their suffering. That's a pretty amazing thing. So, Jim, I would like to ask you to take over for 10 minutes or so.
Okay. My pleasure.
And if you go to speaker view, it will make him big.
Big.
I had the same thought. Sorry. If you walk closer to the microphone, you'll get bigger too.
Right.
Or the camera, rather. All right.
Trying to find the middle ground, the middle path between letting people see my feet and letting people see my profile. So I guess you can see what my arms are doing. We practiced the Shibashi 1 yesterday at the Qigong workshop, and the beginning is very easy to see and to follow. So we started by just moving our weight back and forth as if there was a wave moving across the body, left to right. And after that poem about the duck, you can imagine the duck on a very gentle wave, just moving gradually into one leg and back and forth, with the breath matching the movement as it will. You just let the breath follow the wave across and then back. And notice that that the wave affects every part of your body. Feet are in touch with the floor in different ways when you're over here than when you're over on the other side. Your hips engage to move your center of gravity. Your shoulders readjust. Everything moves with the wave. Then if we change the direction and move the wave out and then back and down, again, everything in the body follows the wave. The neck readjusts when your arms are out. Shoulder blades change. Your arms are closer to your body. If I stand sideways, you can see my fingertips are facing out, and my fingertips are facing up. And the fingertips are kind of relaxed, going up and then out, and then up. So that you can imagine a wave going down your body. And then next time, open your rib cage. There's a wave motion moving in and then resting. Big wave moving out, returning, and coming to rest. Lifting, opening, turning, and resting. And then shifting to the idea of a rainbow. We'll paint a rainbow, but it's a wave-like motion of the paintbrushes at the end of our arms. And then releasing the arms, we'll just come to rest and pause, and then create an image of the duck riding the waves wherever it finds itself, on the ocean, on a gentle pond, on a river. The duck has this proprioception, interoception. It knows it's upright. So do we. We know our feet are in touch with the floor. We know our spine is coming up and out of the pelvic region. Shoulders are going across. Everything's balanced and resting. And the wave of breath continues to move through. And we can make it more complicated by bringing one shoulder forward, then the other shoulder forward, and see what happens to the hips. You think about moving one hip back and the other shoulder forward. There's a twisting and a turning in the spine. Next time, lift your arms up and push from the back and pull from the front. Switch positions. The hand in the front is facing up. The hand in the back is facing forward. And the spine keeps turning the hips, extending the shoulders, pulling back with the shoulders. And then resting again, dropping the hands, pausing, sinking, breathing. The waves come and go, and the duck just sits. We're standing with that same interoception, knowing we're balanced. Tailbone is pointing down. The crown of the head is being pulled up by an invisible string. And there's a balance to the body. Symmetry. The same effort left and right, holding us up. Then if we reach up to one corner, we can pull one heel off the floor gently, and then do the same thing on the other side. And that long stretch has all these little sensations, one after the other, as we move from a centered position to over to one side. How many sensations fire off in the hands, the elbow, the shoulder, the knee, the hip, bottoms of the feet, especially when the heel is up on one side, the other foot really engages and steadies us. And it has this intelligence. We don't think about that. We can observe it and notice it. But it's not something we have to struggle with. It just easily transfers the weight. The body knows how to do that. And then twisting the body more, we turn and gaze at the moon. Again, a new set of balancing acts over here. And the body knows how to do that. Coming back to the center. Moving up. Letting the breath follow the movement the best it wants to do. Just letting it flow. Kind of a natural impulse to breathe in when you lift up. And then rest the rib cage, rest the arms. Lift up. And down. One more time. Twisting. Coming down. Twisting to the other side, feeling the weight shift a little bit. And then when the arms come down, just rest. Feel the symmetry, feel the balance. And then just let the arms rise and pretend you're hugging a tree. Just reach your hands a little bit out from your body, from the side. Just reaching gently and then opening the elbows, feeling the shoulder blades really stretch, and then coming back to a more relaxed position. But your fingers are open, your elbows are a little bit down, your shoulders are down, your chin is level. You just hold that position for a while, as if you're the duck floating on the ocean. The breath expands the rib cage. We adjust a little bit. Exhale. And eventually a little bit of fatigue sets in. I'm going to turn and lower my left hand and take my right hand to the right and then switch hands. Go right into cloud hands, bringing the weight across into one leg, changing hands, bringing the weight across to the other side, as if there's a cloud drifting across the sky. We switch. And the bottom hand is the shadow of the cloud. And the shadow knows exactly how fast the cloud is moving. There's a link. It's a connection. And there's dozens of people across Portland and across the world moving their arms in such a way that there's a connection between one hand with the thumb up, the other with the palm down, and switch. And there's a natural organization in the prefrontal cortex that matches the speed of either hand. It's not something we think about, it's something we feel into. And we create a flow, moving up and down, moving left and right. How do we create a flow? It's not through thinking, it's just through surrendering to the sensation. How do they want to flow? Okay. We're letting both arms rest again. Take a breath. Feel the symmetry of your body. Each foot engaged the same way. The arms hanging symmetrical way. Balance. aware of the center, like an axis underneath the skin, deep inside, and then open to the side, come up and overhead, and then down that axis. So you have this reference point, and then both hands know how to get there. You don't think about it.
Stop the talk.
Just let it flow. And one more time. Bring your hands together. Gratitude for our opportunity to practice together and bring awareness to this amazing system called the standing poem. Thank you very much. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you, dear Jim. Hello, Danny. Hello, Kai. Nice to see you there. There we go. Yeah, better. Another aluminum tube of human beings passing over. We're right on the west superhighway for aircraft. And, coming into Portland. I'm rather fond of them, actually. Lots of birds right now. I'm going to change my sound. I think that will let more bird sound come through.
I think your sound decreased.
Decreased? Thanks, Russ. All right.
Birds are very nice to hear. I hear them really good. I said the birds are very nice to hear.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I hear them really nicely.
Well, I want to speak today about mindfulness. Not a surprise, common topic. But I want to do it in a structured sort of way, using one of the diagrams, or several of the diagrams that I created years ago. Actually, I want to move I have a little platform I can put my mouse on my lap. So, there is this miracle that's happening. And it happens all the time. And for the most part, we humans don't notice it. We just take it for granted. And it's the miracle of life and of consciousness. And there is it's kind of embedded in the ultimate miracle, which is that we get born and then we die. I mean, how does that happen? It's got to be the strangest thing. I don't know if it's the COVID crisis or the brain surgery I had back in November. But I'm much more aware of the fact of vanishing, of my own vanishing. And there's one way to experience it, which is the fearful way, in which then one doesn't get to look at it very clearly. But if one then turns to the fear and then keeps looking, then the utter mystery of it becomes more and more obvious. I had parents for a long time. 50-some years, almost 60 years in one case. And then since then, I haven't. And they've not shown up again. They haven't, though I did have one. I had an experience about 2 years after my dad died of seeing him walking down the street in front of me. And it was so obviously him. And then the fellow turned and it wasn't my father. But it was interesting. So we come and we do our dance and then we disappear. And there's a saying, a Zen saying, I forget it's a pretty saying, but the essence of it is, may my practice help me to die before I die. And it's seen as a very joyful saying, because wouldn't it be a relief to really understand the nature of being here? That we are in our aliveness one side of a two-sided thing, or a multi-sided thing probably, but there's existence and non-existence. And we struggle so hard to create in our existence something stable and something predictable and something safe. And there isn't any safe. Oh, I wonder if I can never find that poem quickly. So mindfulness, the Buddha discovered, and he was really looking. He was 7 years on his quest after he abdicated the life of living a householder's life. 7 years, he did some pretty intense practice. And then in the end, it was this realization of mindfulness being a key that set him free. I'm remembering there's a story from when he was a little boy. His father was the headman or king of a region in North India. And the father was plowing the first furrow in the springtime, and the planting ritual, and worms were being kicked out of the ground, and the birds, a flock of birds, were following and eating up the worms, and he found this very unsettling. So he went off and sat by himself under a tree. It's called a sala tree. I saw them myself in India. The sala tree produces a blossom about this big out of the trunk overnight, and then it disappears, and you can smell it at a great distance. Anyway, he sat there, and he fell into a kind of a reverie. And he remembered this on the night of his awakening, decades later. He remembered that it was possible to simply rest there, not striving to do anything, but just to be awake. And that was what precipitated his awakening. So we have these teachings on the cultivation of mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness. What is it? What is mindfulness? And I find this very helpful, that in this moment, I'm going to say a few words. Please notice what happens in you when I say these words. You ready? Please become aware that you're seeing. Please notice that seeing is happening. Now, a few moments ago, there wasn't awareness of seeing. Or I could say, please become aware of where your body is touching the chair. And know that this is what you're aware of. Contact. Please become aware of sounds in your environment, or the sound of this voice. Notice how the sound comes into being and then disappears. And there's knowing of it. Isn't that strange? Where does that knowing come from? What we tend to say is, well, that's me. As though there was someone inside who knows. But what there really is knowing. There is awareness. Now, it's one thing to be aware of sound and aware of the body. It's another thing to become aware of mind, of thoughts, of emotions, of impulses. And it's this that sets us free from our suffering. That if there can be awareness of, for instance, an obsessive thought. Oh, that's interesting. The camera died on the broadcast. I guess I'm going to leave that alone. I don't want to interrupt right now.